Hey there guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion. Today we are on number 231, belt compression and crash log uploading. Unfortunately, Scarhoof is not able to join me today and probably not next week. He's actually out of town for a couple weeks, going on a bit of a vacation fun trip, so lucky him. But we'll start with belt compression written by Cooperative. So finally, if you didn't know, now in 16.25, belt compression is back both for side loading and with inserters, which is awesome. And it kind of just go through, how they achieved it and some of the issues that there were and such here. So the decision of how to approach the belt compression in 0.16 was not an easy one. We were basically facing two possibilities. Splitters are the only way to reliably compress a belt, which is what it had been since 0.16 came out until now, or compression is automatic everywhere, inserters, side loading, mining drills, etc., which is pretty much how it is now. Non-automatic belt compression is kind of a nice example of emergent gameplay mechanic that I liked. It was not forced on players, but allowed to get some extra efficiency if they cared enough. On the other hand, the solution to the problem is kind of obvious, and having to use it in all the setups everywhere might add more repetitiveness than fun, which I agree with this part. Personally, I mean, you guys probably know my opinions. I ranted about it enough. I don't really agree with the first part, but hey, I'm not a dev. But this part, I do agree that the being able to only do it with splitters was getting pretty repetitive and really more frustrating than actually fun after a while. So I'm glad they did make a decision to make it automatic. But we weren't really sure how to do it. The problem is that once the items are pseudo-randomly added to the belt with lots of gaps not big enough for another item to fit, it is not clear how the additional inserters compress it. So this is like an example of how it was before this recent update, where the inserters just wouldn't compress the belt. There's these little gaps here in there and such. The solution was that whenever there's any gap, then the standard distance between items on a belt, items can be inserted, and for a usually brief moment, the items are squashed together closer than usual. But once the belt starts moving, the gap between the two squashed items extends to the standard size. This change required us to do some fundamental changes to the belt logic, which could introduce a lot of new problems, but since we wanted to be resolved for 0.16, they did it now anyways. The result is the same setup in 0.16.25 plus results in the imperfectly compressed belt, as you can see here, which is awesome. So inserters now automatically compress a belt, which is actually even better than it was before 0.16 even came out, because if you wanted inserters to compress a belt, you had to do that underground trick, because undergrounds worked differently in 0.15 and before. So, but now they compress just even without that, which is awesome. Now, I'm not sure what this means for like other possible issues or like if it messed up some of the optimizations, because I was talking to our seating, and one of the issues they were having, I'm not sure if this is still present, is that like some of the ways they had come up with to compress a belt just kind of undid the optimizations they'd done for belts performance-wise. So I'm not sure if that's the case here. They don't really mention it, but hopefully it does work out. So really good news on that. The belt mechanics are now easier to use, but the game also flows more nicely. The belt flow still needs to be controlled, and belt balancers are still needed, as that feels to be a more interesting part of belt handling to me. I'm happy with the final result, which is good. So I'm glad they decided on that. I'm glad they did decide to do, belt compression from inserters, side loading, whatever. Make setups less annoying. So then we move on to crash log uploading by Twinson, and this is kind of just, I'm just going to kind of summarize this. So as of 16.24, uploads, Factorio now automatically uploads its crash log to them, to the devs, whenever there is a crash log. It can be disabled from the menu. It's an opt-out option. But yeah, so for a long time they wanted to do this because, they would have to depend on people to submit the bug reports to the forums, and they didn't really get all the important information stuff. So now it just automatically submits it. And you can see the way it works is that when Factorio crashes and a crash log was generated, in its dying moments, it starts a new process that tries to upload Factorio current.log, and in some rare cases, Factorio dump current.dmt. Once on our server, we parse the stack trace from it and organize it with identical crash logs into the folder. So far it has proven to be very useful. In just 2 days, our seating fixed about 12 crashes that were found by our reporting tool, none of which were reported on the forum. So I mean, that's really good. It seems to be working for sure. And we go further down. This does not mean you should stop reporting crashes on the forum, so this is an important thing. Just because it does do this, you should still report the crashes and bugs and stuff. If anything, it means you should report them more often. We very often need more information about the crash, such as steps to reproduce or a save game, but we have no way of contacting the person that uploaded the crash. So, yeah, so it essentially automatically uploads it. I'm not sure on these... on the Factorio current.log and the Factorio dump, like what size file these are, because I mean they discuss further below like the privacy concerns, but I think a lot of people's concerns from what I heard was just like how big the files are going to be, you know, because some people may play on like satellite internet or even their mobile internet or something, like Colonel Will, for example, and you know that there's limited bandwidth on that, so and usage data. So, you know, if these files are like half a gigabyte a piece, I don't know. I'd have to check. You guys can probably check. I doubt the devs would have it automatically upload something huge like that. It's probably just like about the size of a text file or something, maybe 10 or 20 megabytes or something. But if it is huge, that was a lot of people's concerns, is that, you know, it's automatically uploading in the background when they have limited data, and they don't want it to do that. But if you are concerned about that, you can go into your options and opt out of it, and it will no longer do that. But privacy concerns, again, I'm just going to summarize. Essentially, though, they try to be very transparent, and they basically just say that the log only contains basic system information, CPU, GPU, and free memory, game display settings, operation log, crash stack trace for the main thread, and in some rare cases, a mini dump. We send this information, if you don't opt out, in our binary format securely through HTTPS to one of our addresses. We also updated our EULA and included it in the game to mitigate any legal issues. So I guess people were concerned about privacy. You know, I mean, personally, I'm not. I mean, like in this day and age, who cares if Factorio devs know what CPU and RAM and GPU you're using and stuff? But I think the important thing is to realize that this is not like giving them like all your files, or, you know, it's not like searching your computer for like secret information or something like that. It's literally just Factorio related and PC spec related. And I mean, it's totally up to you. I mean, personally, I trust the devs enough to, you know, obviously trust what they're saying here. They're being pretty transparent about it, and I have no issue with this. If you do, then again, you can opt out. If not, then it does clearly help them. You know, it's already helped them fix 12 crashes they may not have otherwise, or may have taken longer to fix. So that's pretty much the summary here. And then lastly, the mysterious Ryzen issue, aka memory corruption, GPU corruption, bad hardware, not our fault for sure. The second most common crash that was reported in 16.25 with 61 unique crashes was a mysterious crash in Entity Renderer Preparer Row, whatever that is. So it's one of those crashes that pops up on the forums every few months. We are unable to find the cause, so we end up not fixing it. Some of us often blame it on memory corruption or CPU error, but I'm often the skeptical person saying that we don't use this excuse every time we can't find the cause of a crash. Now that we have the crash uploading tool, we can do more. First of all, we noticed that 100% of these crashes were on an AMD Ryzen CPU. Even with all the crash logs, we would still not figure out what was going on. So in 16.25, we start uploading mini dumps when when this crash occurs. A few mini dumps were received, are still very strange, and we are unable to figure out what's going on, with the easiest scapegoat being to throw the blame on bad hardware. This will probably be one of those bugs that will haunt us for some time. So if you're using one of these, if you're using a Ryzen and you're having these crashes, I do feel for you, because it sounds like they don't know what's wrong, and because of that, it may not be fixed for a very long time. But I think that does it, guys. The main thing was the belt compression, and then just kind of a PSA about the crash log being uploaded and such, and how to opt out of it. But there you go. I'm super excited about the belt compression. That allows a lot more builds that I wanted to do to be able to be done without really janky splitter junk that I really didn't want to do. So this is just super nice. Anyway, link in the description to this if you want to read it yourself and follow these links and such. Definitely check out the forum discussion if you want to add your thoughts. Leave your thoughts down below as always. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.